Minister.
The firing of Deputy OPP Commissioner Brad Blair made for a wild question period at Queen's Park. The government again denied any political interference and tried to change the channel.
It's done. We need to move on.
I think it's shocking that the minister says it's done, nothing to see here. This thing reeks, it reeks like a stinking mess, and this government needs to clean it up, Speaker. They need to clean it up.
Blair released a statement reading in part, quote, "I brought the serious issue of real and or perceived political interference with the independent operations of the OPP to the provincial ombudsman." Goes on to say that raising such concerns has not come without its costs, but I remain steadfast in the belief that this was the right thing to do. Remember, Blair has filed a court case aimed at stopping the appointment of Ford family friend Ron Taverner as the next OPP commissioner. Blair was fired Monday by Deputy Community Safety Minister Mario Di Tommaso, who was Taverner's former boss.
The fact that Mr. Di Tommaso was Mr. Taverner's former boss and a friend of the Premier's, who made the decision to, be a part of hiring Mr. Taverner and firing Mr. Blair, raises additional questions about the independence of this whole process.
In new court documents filed today, Blair says his firing was a reprisal for his court battle and says Di Tommaso is, quote, in clear conflict of interest. Minister Sylvia Jones struggled to say how that wasn't the case.
Explain to us how it is not a conflict for him to be weighing in on this.
I think that we have to keep in mind that the recommendation was from one individual, but it was a 9-member committee that ultimately made the decision.
It's beyond the pale to think that the Premier and his team had nothing to do with this decision being made. And if they didn't, then they shouldn't be afraid of a public inquiry.
What's wrong with just calling a third-party investigation to clear the air once and for all?
Well, I think that the letter of termination that has now been made public makes it pretty clear that there were concerns with his oath of office and how he was using that office.
The minister says Blair making internal OPP emails public is what led to his firing, though a leading employment lawyer says that doesn't add up to her.
They may very well be qualified as confidential emails, and it's yet to be determined if, in fact, they would fall within that category. But if that is the only alleged misconduct that Mr. Blair has ever been involved in, and he has an otherwise clean disciplinary record, I'm not convinced as an employment lawyer, particularly at this early stage, that that would render the entire employment relationship unsalvageable.
So what does Premier Ford have to say about it all? We don't know. Instead of being a question period, he was touring the SodaStream factory in Mississauga.
Maybe he likes soda. What I would think is he should be here trying to explain what his role has been in the firing of Mr. Blair.
The NDP now calling on the Integrity Commissioner to launch a full investigation. At Queen's Park, Richard Southard, City News.